Hey everyone, it's the DJ Dr. San Diego, and today we're going to go over how to set up your turntable, your Technics 1200 or 1210 turntable once you've purchased it. So the first thing that I do is make sure that my tone arm is set correctly. So I've connected my, screwed on my needle, and I've adjusted the counterweight to where it's floating. Okay, so as you can see, needle is just kind of floating in the air, and that's because I was able to turn this back and forth to where it's even weight and it's just floating. Okay, so on the counterweight there's this little indicator here, these little numbers that move independently of the counterweight. Okay, so you just move this little section and it's just kind of keeping track of at what degree or the amount of weight that's on that counterweight. So it's at 0 right now because it's floating, so I'm setting it to 0, okay? And so now that I've set that to 0, I'm gonna add some weight. Now generally I add, I would say 2.5 grams of weight, and so I just twist it, and that's 2.5 grams of weight. And so now my needle is weighted, and so I can put it on the record and play it. Okay. Now for those scratch DJs or DJs who are using, you know, kind of manipulating the record quite a bit, I would probably go up to 3 or even 3.5, but then you're gonna go through your needle quicker. Those DJs who are using Serato DJ, you know, the records are really have really heavy grooves, and so rarely does it slip or come out of the groove. And then also you should be using relative mode on your Serato DJ, which also will decrease the needle skipping. So but I would say for these purposes 2.5 is a good place to start, and then kind of adjust it from there. So, all right. The next thing that you want to do is make sure that the height of your turntable is set correctly. So you want to make sure that you unlock this, move this lever to this position, and then you want to, once it's loosened up, you want to move this either up or down. All right, and so it's going to raise the tone arm to the level that you need it. And the point is to, once the needle is on the record, you want to make sure that your needle, the tone arm, is parallel to the record, and that way you'll know that it is set correctly. So I just set my my needle when I adjust it just straight across. I'm using Serato DJ. I'm not an audiophile guy, but if you are, you know, playing really rare records, you will need to have the angle of that needle adjusted correctly so it's not digging through your record. Okay. So the next thing that we, speaking of digging through your record or kind of beating it up, we want to make sure that the anti-skate is set correctly. Okay. And so just to start off with, I'm going to put it at about 2.5. And I have this record here, and it's a smooth record, doesn't have any grooves in it whatsoever. And it's a perfect record to test your anti-skate. So what I do is I turn on the record, and if I move the anti-skate back and forth, my needle should be moving back and forth as well. Okay, and what I want to do is make sure that I set it to where it's not going into the record and it's not going back to the record. It's just kind of right in a sweet spot. So my perfect anti-skate setting for this turntable is right around just over 3.5 or so, 3.25. And that's a perfect place you know, so it's not digging into the interior part of the record, but it's also not kind of digging into the outer part of the groove. This is most important with audiophile people. Serato DJ people don't spend too much time, but you know, I would set it correctly. If all else fails, my advice to you, or you don't really know what you're doing, definitely set the height to where your tone arm is set parallel, but set your weight for 2.5 and your anti-skip